is Tetsuya Namura. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. My Korean name is Chang Dong-gun. I grew up in the U.S., but I was born in Korea. My father is Korean and my mother is Japanese. I grew up in the U.S. for most of my life. Currently, I'm working at Amazon as a business analyst after graduating from the University of Virginia in 2021. For a lot of U.S. students, during their time in university, after their third year, in the summer after their third year, they'll usually get an internship. And then from that internship, depending on how well they do, they might get a full-time offer to return to that company. And so I was at the University of Virginia, and it was the springtime before the summer, and everybody was finding internships. A lot of my classmates had already found internships, and I was actually quite stressed because I had transferred into the school, and I felt I didn't feel as confident as a lot of the other students. They were a lot smarter than me, more ambitious, and they seemed a lot more capable. And they had preparing to get internships for, maybe at least 1 year before, 1 year previously. So I felt quite nervous about getting an internship. But then luckily, I was just applying to various places, and then I was able to get an internship with Amazon as a part of Amazon Web Services, the cloud consulting or cloud computing part of their business. And then through that, I was able to do a 12-week internship well, and then I did well enough that they asked me back to return as a full-time employee in the following year. And so that's how I got a job there at Amazon. And actually, I think it's quite interesting how I did get that offer. For a lot of people, a lot of students in my for a lot of my classmates, they had very difficult interviews, and even getting an interview was very, very difficult. But somehow I just quickly got an interview. The interview was very simple, and then the whole experience went really smoothly. And somehow I also attribute that to having been able to tithe throughout my life, like give money to the church. And so one of the important things that my father taught me is always to be relaxed with money, especially when it comes to giving to others or giving to our Heavenly Parent, true parents. And so I always built up the habit since I was in high school, to whenever I did get money, to give some percentage of that to the church. And I think being so loose with the money in terms of giving it to other people or being able to give it to the church, it did have a good blessing for me when I was able to find this job at Amazon. So that was something that when I look back, I'm really grateful for as well. So I came to Chungpyeong for a 21-day workshop, exactly around 28 days last year in the summer of 2024. Because I had previously done a 40-day workshop in 2019 in between my university. I took one summer to say I wanted to do 40 days because I've never done it before. I always grew up as somebody who was very interested in Chungpyeong, and then even my mom said that I was a Chungpyeong baby growing up because she was pregnant. She was here when she was pregnant with me, and even when I was young, like maybe 1 or 2 years old, she said that I would like hit her as we're singing, praise of grace of the Holy Garden. And so I always had an interest in Chungpyeong, but for a lot of international church members, it's difficult to come to Korea because of the cost and the price. And so I didn't get to go until I was an adult. But then after experiencing a 40-day workshop for the first time, I knew I wanted to come back again. And so I was planning to do that. And then I was able to come back last year in 2024 by taking off around 4 weeks of work to do so. For me, I really wanted to come, but yeah, and luckily my work allowed me to take off that whole time. I was able to save up some paid time off and then use it all at once, and my manager was okay with it as long as I set up a plan for how somebody else can help with the work while I was gone. And then I was able to take that time off to attend the workshop. And so, like I mentioned before about how it might be difficult for members to come to Korea for a workshop, when you think about the cost especially, the flights can be like $1,000 to $2,000. And then when you think about how much money you might be losing on lost wages, for me it was about like if I wanted to do a 40-day workshop, it could cost up to $5,000 in total of all the different costs. So I can only imagine how difficult it must be for members around the world to think about coming to Chungpyeong. But I found it very enlightening when I did come. It was definitely worth it because our spiritual life is something that we can't put a price on, right? For example, if you say, how much would you be willing to pay to get a good blessing, a good marriage blessing, then obviously there's no price that we can pay. And there's no price that we can pay for a good and a healthy life. So when I think about it that way, it made a lot of sense for me to take this opportunity to go to Chungpyeong. And then also because I had the opportunity through my generous manager or my colleagues to come to Chungpyeong and experience something here. I think one thing that international church members, I think an advantage for international church members is that because Chungpyeong is such a faraway place, they treat it, for them it's much more of a special experience. It's not just like something in their neighborhood like it may be for some of our Korean church members. So it's easier for us to really see the value in it and go deep in our experience with the spirituality or the healing. So for me, especially in this, for when I attended the for when I came to Chungpyeong last year, my main focus was to prepare for the marriage blessing. But how it ended up going was actually, I ended up thinking a lot more about our second generation, our third generation members, and the kind of different struggles or the difficulties that they might be going through, and how through my own prayers or through eventually my own actions when I return home, that I can comfort them or help to build that community. So it was actually not so much of a time where I could spend thinking about myself, but how I could really connect to the heart of our brothers and sisters, especially those who've become farther away from our church. For various reasons, whether it is like family difficulties or the loneliness that they may have felt in the community. So in that respect, I really appreciated it. I really appreciated the experience that it gave me. For me, something that I think is very important is to connect with sorrow, and I think that's very relevant in this time now with True Mother, who's asking us to really connect with her heart, to connect with her heart to relieve Heavenly Parents' sorrow. So whenever I think about that, I think it's natural for me also to think about how can I make the lives of our second and third generation around us better as well. And so in that way, I also hope to be a really good example in terms of faith, and then externally in being able to develop a career that you can do both, and that we should be able to do both in fulfilling our greatest potential here on this earth. So I was able to receive the blessing this time, the cosmic blessing in 2025 with my now wife, Kosuka Remi. And we were able to meet during my time in Chungpyeong last year when we were introduced through a church leader during that time. And it's been a very interesting, it's been a very, it's been a, yeah, it's been an emotional journey in different ways. I think I've had to tackle, what is it that I truly want in the blessing, what the blessing really means, and can I be somebody who can really commit absolutely to one person? And obviously those are all heavy questions, very serious questions, especially when we think about who we want to spend the rest of our lives with. But then the more Remy and I were able to talk, I could really feel that she is somebody who could understand me deeply and love me absolutely, but then also somebody who I can create a really great future family with. So when I think about those points, it makes it really clear what the blessing is. It's not just about myself, of course, or just about her, but how we do together when we're with our families, and then even when we're not on this earth anymore, when we look at generations afterwards, what kind of foundation do we create for our descendants? So when I think about the blessing in terms of in that kind of in that respect, then I'm glad that I can be with somebody like Remy. Yeah, I guess the last thing I'll say about the blessing is, I think we often hear, I think we often hear the phrase, the blessing is not just for myself or for my spouse or for the two of us, but it's for the greater good. But I think we often also don't understand fully what that means. And I say that because that means it makes it more difficult for us to decide on the blessing. What I mean by that is, like, it means that we have to make sacrifices. It means that it's not about what we want, but we have to think about even things that we don't want to do. And so when we think about Heavenly Parents' lineage and carrying on true parents' work, those are things that are very important, and we might lose that vision along the way, especially when it comes to finding someone. But yeah, that's definitely important, and I think we don't fully realize how difficult it might be to say that the blessing is not just for myself and for my spouse. So I hope that through my marriage blessing, I can really set a great example, not only of fulfilling my mission towards Heavenly Parent and true parents, but really creating a happy family.